everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're talking about migraines, and I know a lot of us have challenges with that. We have an employee who's on intermittent leave for migraines that have been going on for quite a long time, and the employee is operating way outside of the parameters of her FMLA intermittent leave medical certification. The certification currently allows for 1 to 3 times a month, 1 day each episode as needed for flare-ups for the medical condition. Upon speaking with the employee during the parameter review, we offered her the option to recertify if she felt that the leave parameters were not enough to manage her condition. We then received the recertification where the doctor changed it so now the employee can be out 1 to 3 times per month, 1 to 14 days for each episode for migraines. So then the employer called the medical provider to verify that, in fact, what the doctor intended was 1 to 3 days a month, 1 to 14 days for each episode. Now, keep in mind, they contacted to verify integrity of what was written on the document only, nothing else. And this is the only contact you would like to have with a doctor without a HIPAA certificate. Would be, could you confirm what you put on the certificate and that the date it was signed and who signed it? That's always valid if you think there's a challenge. What they want to know is there anything they, as the employer, can ask of the doctor to support this excessive amount of time off work. Is this realistic, is their question? How are we supposed to meet scheduling demands? Well, fortunately, that's what FMLA is about. Isn't it going to take a long time for this employee to exhaust 480 hours? And what do we do then? Good questions. So let's start at the top. Okay, so is this realistic? Well, my experience with migraines is 14 days seems unrealistic, but I'm not a medical provider, so my opinion is not valid. All I can do is say, this seems odd. Whenever I have that feeling, it seems odd for a medical certificate, and it's FMLA, we're curing. Then we're doing second and third opinions. And I've been doing those for over 30 years, everybody, and you probably have never been trained on them. And that's because attorneys are litigators and they know the law. They're not implementers. They don't know your policies and procedures and your standards for implementing these regulations. And that's what we train on, is how do you deal with this stuff? So the question is, you're not asking the doctor anything. You're curing. You're implementing the curing strategy. And if you don't know how to do that, please come to our trainings and let us show you how to do this very, very effective fraud preventer. And then if we can't cure, we're doing a second and third opinion. And I can tell you, if you've got third-party administrators, ask them how many second or third opinions they've done in the last 5 years. You might get the answer 0. That's a pretty big deal because this is what our job is in HR. We take over from the third-party administrator and we get this done. So yes, there's a lot we can do with curing and second and third opinions. But that's the first question. Let's say we go through all of that and it's 14 days. Then the next question is, how are we supposed to meet the scheduling demands? Well, that's our job, folks. We're HR. This is FMLA. This isn't going away. It's probably going to get more protective. So let's make sure we've got methodologies for managing this. There's all sorts of venues for getting part-time employees. You want to document the efforts you took to get part-time employees. If you can't get part-time employees, you're documenting the efforts the rest of your staff have to go through to compensate for your employee not being there. Because what happens when they exhaust the 480 hours, which is the next question, isn't it going to take a long time for this employee to exhaust 480 hours? Well, it depends on how many days a month they take. Because they literally could have 2 episodes of 14 days each and they're gone the whole month. You see the challenge that this employer is trying to figure out. So I'm really going to be dealing with curing and fraud and second and third opinions for this particular scenario. But the bigger issue for me right now is how would I suggest that you manage this employee? And what I suggest for you to do is start by nailing the jello to the wall, which they did. They confirmed the actual criteria because she was exceeding. Let's assume that all of this is absolutely valid and accurate. So that's our job now, to understand how to work with FMLA in our workplace. And when we've got an identified employee with identified job titles that we know are going to have periodic, disruptive, ongoing, as needed, intermittent leave, prepare now. Start looking for the temporary worker that you can call to pop into that spot. Even hire them as a per diem temporary worker, because you've got an employee who's going to be using this FMLA, and they may use it the whole time they're working with you. And please keep in mind, everybody, why second and third opinions and curing is so important. Because when you have an employee who takes up to 480 hours, or how about 449 or 479 if they're an 40-hour week employee, every year they become a permanent part-time employee with full-time benefits. So let's start curing. Let's start using second and third opinions. Even if our third-party administrators don't know how to do this and aren't doing this, let's step in and get this done. You will start eliminating fraud, you'll eliminate abuse, and you'll find the employees who really need the help and get them the protection they need and the excess help from additional employees when you need it, or part-time employees, and have them prepared and ready to go so your departments aren't impacted. Remember, this is a team environment. We're working with the employees. We're working with the managers. We're working with the supervisors. We want to work together to see if we can keep these people working. And then if we can't, we'll have all the documentation to show that we really did try and we acted in good faith, even under FMLA, and we couldn't get it done. But let's make sure our employees comply with their responsibilities also, everybody. Thank you for joining us.